UFC 306 O'Malley versus Dvalishvili, a.k.a. Noche UFC, takes place this weekend from the Sphere in Las Vegas. It's a one-time show. It's supposed to be a huge deal. We got 2 title fights and Dana White's love letter to Mexico. You guys are not going to want to miss this.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the 10-7 MMA, coming back to you after a little bit of a hiatus, impromptu to some extent, but you know, whatever. Here we are. Anyway, I'm DS, and I'm here with my guy, per usual, Dino Bam Bam.
DS, what up, dog? How you feeling on this Noche UFC fight week?
Man, I'm excited, dude. I'm excited to see, like, I read a little bit about like what it's supposed to be, and like little short movies in between fights. Do you see this shit?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like movies, what? Like little hype fucking fights, or like they animated some shit for each fight, or like what? Like
here's my philosophy.
Is it unrelated to the actual fights, or like is it about Mexico's history, or what is it like?
So my thought process, my philosophy, the way I've been understanding it is they have I want to say they have 6 like short movies that they've recorded. I think these are like real movies because Dana was talking about being on set and like flying to locations to record. My thing is, what I think is going to happen is that they're going to play a movie before the card starts, like a little like 5-minute movie. They're going to go into the first 2 fights, and like it's going to be the history of Mexico, the whole like the history of fighting in Mexico. So I imagine they're going to start with like the Aztecs, like Aztec time, Mayan time, like whatever. I don't know my history like that.
Pretty sick.
And then the whole background of the Sphere while these guys are fighting is going to be like that world. They're going to be fighting in like ancient Mexico, you know, type shit. And then they're going to move forward. Like after those 2 fights, they're going to play another 5-minute movie. It's going to go like another whatever X amount of years into the future. And they're going to start telling the story. And as it goes on, we're going to like progress till we get to like either current day or potentially future, like of Mexico, boxing, MMA, all that. So I'm interested to see what the worlds look like behind them. That's going to be pretty badass.
Yeah, that sounds some literally like Tekken shit, like some fighting game shit.
Yeah, Tekken, you could say that.
Pretty sick. All right. Well, for all that it's been hyped for, and you know, we'll see. I kind of have a feeling it might be a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, it might be.
You know, I was going to put out a video. I never ended up doing it, but the actual venue itself, super tight. The shape of the venue, because of the screen, has to go up. Naturally, it has to be very steep. You know what I mean? There's not millions of seats, right? It's not. They couldn't make it just absolutely enormous, right? So as big as it is, and as much as it's cost and all the technology, and you know, it's kind of an awkwardly shaped, you know, in terms of the logistics of how people are sitting, right? They're all sitting kind of stacked on top of each other, right? There's not a lot of room to pass through. It's not really built for 5-hour events. And I'm sure that's the reason that they made it only 10 fights instead of 14, 15. But I'm curious to see, man. Curious to see how this goes, especially at a UFC event. People get rowdy and shit. That, you know, that shit's steep as fuck. Hope everything goes good.
Right.
But aside from all that shit, and, you know, we'll see what happens with that. We've got 10 fights on the docket, like we said. Bit of a shorter card, but you know, and of course it does skew Mexico heavy, right? I mean, there's a reason that they're doing this. That is kind of peculiar, though, that they're doing it's sponsored by the Arabs,
right?
And it's in Vegas, and it's Dana White on Mexican Independence Day, and it's a love letter to Mexico. How did you phrase it the other day? I loved how you said it.
It's an Irish American guy fighting a dude from Georgia in Las Vegas in like a big ass bubble that's being sponsored by the Arabs for the Mexicans. But
a true international event.
Right. And this should be International Fight Week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. It's strange to a lot of degrees, but I'm excited to see it. Without further ado, should we get into the fights? You have anything else you'd like to say?
Two things. Number 1, guys, do like the thing at the bottom of the screen says. Please like and subscribe. We would really appreciate that. Ring that bell. Dino, sound of the bell for the new folks.
Well, you know, it does its own thing, but
that's the sound of the bell, guys. Ring that shit. That's going to notify you when our videos drop. Also, you can follow us on IG and TikTok, like the thing at the bottom says. Don't look at our TikTok. We don't really be using it, but we're going to try. We're going to start doing that. Speaking of the ring the bell fucking nonsense that we were doing, me and DS, part of why we didn't upload last week was we probably put in like 30 hours, 35 hours, Dino, of
dude. I think I'm north of that.
Of a video series that is highly secret. Only a few people know about it. We've got it all done. It's done. It is taken care of. That is going to be an episodic series that will be dropping soon. They're not going to be long episodes. They're going to be like 8 to 10 minutes. It's going to be really fun. We spent a lot of time on it. A passion project, some would say. Some would say it was just us fucking around, but we had a lot of fun with it. I cannot wait till that drops, DS.
Oh, man. I wasn't sure if you're going to mention that. But, yeah, we need to do that. I got burnt out from doing that, not even going to lie.
Yeah.
We were up literally from like 11 to 5 a.m.
on the PlayStation party, FaceTime thing. It was crazy.
Just going hard. But, man, I'm excited to see that, though. So, all right, let's get right into it. We do have some fights that we should definitely discuss and talk about, with, of course, the first one being our Lord and Savior, Raul Rosas Jr. He's taking on Aoriqileng. It's the first fight of the night. What a way to open up the card. What do you think about this one, man?
All right, man. Raul Rosas Jr., baby. He's back. Dino, we know the deal with Raul Rosas. He's young, and he's really, really fucking good, man. It's not the fact that he's young and looks weird and says weird shit that, gets people attracted to the guy. It's the fact that he's a fucking beast of a fighter and he's a child. Like, this guy goes in there with grown-ass men in the UFC and fucks them up for the most part, except our boy C-Rod. Shout out C-Rod. But he's young, dynamic, aggressive, great submission skills, like grappling beyond his years. Pretty good striking, man, for a guy that is a natural grappler, right? Like, there's nothing you can say negative about Raul Rosas. The kid he's a beast. He's promising. He looks like he's going to be a contender in the UFC in multiple divisions for a decade and a half plus to come, right? So he's fighting the veteran Aoriqileng, one of these dudes with one name. It's like Cher, it's like Madonna, or maybe it's just Asian. I don't know. But Aoriqileng, aggressive striker, durable veteran, known for his forward pressure and his knockout power. I think he has a tattoo of like a carrot or some shit on his chest. I don't know what that's about. Look, Dino, his thing is he's going to have to knock out Raul Rosas, right? Let's not mince words. Let's not fuck around. He's going to have to knock out Raul Rosas. I don't know that he does that, man. We've seen Raul Rosas, when he fought Christian Rodriguez, be taken to a point where he had never been taken, to deep waters, and he didn't look great. But he bounced back tremendously after that, and it wasn't like he got totally outclassed by C-Rod. He got hurt, he got tired, and I think C-Rod's a lot better fighter than Aoriqileng is. So at this point, Aoriqileng's challenge is going to be staying on the feet, trying to put Rosas away while not being taken down, because his grappling is not the level of Raul Rosas. I'm going Chiwiwis, Raul Rosas Jr. by submission, round 2. The grappling is the difference. The kid is levels and levels ahead of Aoriqileng in terms of the grappling.
Yeah, you pretty much said it all, man. Yeah, I fully agree with you. I'm going to go with Chiwiwis too, Raul Rosas Jr. I'm going to take him at the end of the first round for a submission. Aoriqileng, not the epitome of cardio. Raul Rosas, I think it's pretty clear what the UFC has done here, right? It's a huge card. They want him to, they want to make a star of this kid, right? He's got a unique look, to say the least. He literally fights like the goddamn Tasmanian devil. They're giving him not necessarily a gimme fight, but stylistically, it's just not a good matchup for Aoriqileng. So, for me, I just think Raul Rosas is going to be too much. He just needs to be careful not to get knocked out. We haven't really seen him wobbly or anything like that. Aoriqileng does have some decent power. I just think the pressure is going to be way too much, man. And I think, again, we say this every time he fights, but Raul Rosas is so young that we can expect him to improve every single time. This is all this kid has, right? He's not, he's not modeling. I'll tell you that. He's not doing anything else. So this is all he's doing. He's training with great teams. He's doing all the right things, right? His brothers are in the sport. He's committed. So to me, this is not quite a gimme fight. He certainly could get knocked out, but I think it's as close to it. The odds speak for themselves, right? I think it says minus 700 here. I don't know when that's exactly the snapshot's from, but I bet it. I tried to bet it yesterday. I saw it on DraftKings for minus 675. I tried to bet it, and I think I might have bet it in a parlay, which is kind of dumb, to be honest with you. Earlier, I think I saw minus 820 or something like that. So, the odds are probably going to get ridiculous. If they get too ridiculous, I'm not putting them in a parlay, but I'll sprinkle a little bit on Aoriqileng.
Wow. I'm fairly confident in Chiwiwis, as it says over there.
I'm super confident. I'm super confident. But you know how it goes. This is a fight game. And when the odds get absolutely out of control, I'm not saying put $1 million on it, right? Put $20, $30, and if it's plus 700-800.
Put a couple $2-3 on there, 2-3 pesos, and you'll be all right.
Or if you got Rosas in your parlays, right? Hedge it with a little sprinkle.
Right. Just a little sprinkle. That's all you got to do. But hey, one thing you mentioned, that I didn't get to, and I appreciate that you said it. You said he fights like the Tasmanian devil. I know it was like a joke, but like really, that's how he fights. He fights like a bat out of hell. The dude comes out there fast as shit. He's aggressive. Like it's if you've never seen the guy fight, which I don't think you'd be watching this if you're not like a diehard UFC fan, and if you are, you know who Raul Rosas is. But if you haven't, man, do yourself a favor, watch this kid. I mean, he's the future. He's got a huge, huge future out of him.
Absolutely. All right, moving on. Next fight of the night, second one on the card. We've got Edgar Chairez. We've got Raul Rosas Jr., Mexican. We've got Edgar Chairez. He's Mexican. He is taking on Joshua Van from Myanmar, or is it Burma?
Shout out our boys in Myanmar, Burma, man. Huge fan base out there for the 10-7 MMA. Huge fan base.
I bet, dude. We do get like a lot of like Southeast Asia, which is kind of cool.
We had like one of our videos that really popped off. We like looked at the metrics for it, and it was like 4,000 views came from Myanmar in parentheses Burma. I don't know what
come check out like the number 3 UFC podcast in Myanmar.
Right, we're
in Myanmar, bro. So, all right, moving on to this fight though. So Edgar Chairez versus Joshua Van. Joshua Van, man, one of the youngest fighters in the UFC still. He's not even 23 years old yet, right? He's 22 and 11 months. In a month, if my math adds up, he'll be 23. Edgar Chairez, 28 years old. Very different fighters, right? Josh Van, you've got a very technical striker. And then in Edgar Chairez, we haven't seen much of him at all, to be quite honest with you. He had the fight with Daniel Lacerda. 2 fights with Daniel Lacerda. One was the premature stoppage. That was weird. He lost to Tatsuro Taira, but Tatsuro Taira, obviously very highly touted. That kind of rhymed. But, held his own in that fight, too, to be honest with you. Now, Tatsuro Taira, I don't think he's necessarily like the next best thing in the division. I think he is pretty flawed. But nonetheless, I have to respect Edgar Chairez's resilience. And despite losing that fight, he didn't look completely outmatched versus somebody who is a very high-level fighter, even if you don't think he's the next, champion or anything like that. To me, man, I am concerned with Josh Van coming back in after being knocked out by our boy Charles Johnson. What, like 2 months ago, dude? That was not even 2 months ago. That was like what, 7 weeks ago. So, yeah, I mean, I don't love that. He was knocked out for the first time in his career and pretty badly at that too. So making the quick turnaround, has he taken enough time to let his chin recover? If that's even a thing, right? The science of the chin is still a mystery in a lot of ways, I would say. But man, Edgar Chairez, high-level grappler. Josh Van, high-level striker. So in a way, it's a classic grappler versus striker matchup. But for me, man, I want to side with Josh Van. I think it's better for the division if he wins, right? Young prospect, has looked really good, has looked dangerous. But is the size difference going to be too much? Is the grappling going to be too much? How is his cardio going to hold up, right? Is the chin going to hold up? So it's not as straightforward as some of the other Josh Van fights for me. -205. I don't necessarily love those odds, man. I'm going to take Josh Van to win. I'm going to take him to win by decision, but I'm very, very concerned. I am very, very concerned. Edgar Chairez is going to have 2 or 3 inches of height on him. He's going to have a whopping 7 inches of reach. I mean, and Josh Van is the striker. And, yes, he knows how to strike, right? Like, he has kind of short arms too, but he knows how to get inside, and that's all good and dandy. But has his chin recovered and all these other things that I just mentioned, I am a little bit concerned, man. Edgar Chairez, I don't think he's trash. I think he's a very good fighter. The striking, is not anything crazy, but I think he'll be able to hold his own. So we'll see, man. I don't necessarily love it for Josh Van. I think I would rather that he waited a little bit, but I'm going to take him by decision.
All right, and look, this would be the point, like in this show, if we had a huge ass budget where we'd have like flashing lights and like fucking upset alert, we'd be doing all that shit. You also mentioned, Dino, that Edgar Chairez has a 7.5 inch reach advantage. That's an abundance of inches. That's like a ton of inches. So we just got to put that out there. That's just a big deal. But look,
even if it was like 4 inches, bro, that's like pretty.
I'm saying, right? Like, do you need all those inches? No. So he's got an excess of inches. Is what I'm trying to say.
That's how I'm trying to be.
That's right. So look, Edgar Chairez, you mentioned it pretty much, right? A submission specialist known for great jiu-jitsu, great grappling transitions. The fight against Mario Batista, man, he looked great in the grappling exchanges. That was a phenomenal display of grappling. Let's just put it that way. He got the submission win in that one. Dino, he is a submission specialist. He excels.
When did he fight Batista?
Who am I thinking of? Don't make me feel wrong right now.
I was like, how the fuck did I miss that?
No. Well, why am I saying Mario Batista?
Lacerda?
Sorry, Daniel Lacerda. Jesus Christ, what am I talking about?
I was like, bro, how did I miss that fight?
I don't know. I'm saying Mario Batista. My apologies. Daniel Lacerda. The first fight was the weird one you mentioned with the stoppage. The second one was the submission, the triangle choke.
They're all like 3 weight classes apart, but it's all good.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm thinking Mexico. That's where my mind's at. But look, so he looked phenomenal in that one, and I was rooting for Lacerda, right? But he showed that he is special on the ground, and that's a jiu-jitsu guy for what it's worth. Like, I know Lacerda is dynamic with the striking, but a jiu-jitsu guy nonetheless. He showed that he's really good in being able to control the positions on the bottom, which is a huge thing, right? Especially when you have the 7 inches, that's very important. But look, great pressure, Dino, great ability to control his opponents. Joshua Van, we talked about it. He fought against our boy CJ last time out, and I actually bet CJ by 3rd round knockout, which was absolutely fucking crazy. Thank you, CJ, for making that happen for us. But Joshua Van's a stand-up fighter. You said it yourself. Great boxing, great power for the division. The power is special for the division. But look, he's young, he's inexperienced. He's fighting a Mexican guy who's going to have we don't know that it's going to be a sold-out crowd, right? But you would assume by that point they'll have lowered the tickets enough to where it will be sold out. But the guys that are going to be there...
Should we go?
What is it?
Should we just go?
It's a little too late for me, man. I got fucking plans and shit now. Like, I wanted to. Connor really messed this whole year up for Vegas, and we'll talk about that some other time. But look, I'm worried about Josh Van as well. Like, CJ kind of... No shame in losing to CJ. He's on fire right now. He was ranked. They just took him out of the rankings. But Charles Johnson is a better fighter than Josh Van. He's definitely more seasoned than him and more refined than him.
I would argue Josh Van was winning that fight.
Right, but CJ fucked them up towards the end. Josh Van started getting tired and then got clipped. It just is what it is. But that's neither here nor there. Edgar Chairez is not going to be doing that to him on the feet. I just threw that in there. The point that I'm trying to make here, Dino, and I'm getting so fucking sidetracked. The point I'm trying to make here is for Josh Van, being a young guy that's primarily a striker that doesn't have too much of a ground game versus a guy that's a little bit older, a guy that's, like I said, a Mexican fighter in the sphere that's going to be sold out in a 10-fight card where people are going to be showing up in the prelims because they want to see this fucking venue and all that. The crowd is going to be super Edgar Chairez. I wonder how that affects Josh Van. And if Chairez gets him to the ground, he's going to do a good job at keeping him there. Look, I just feel like Chairez is going to end up taking him down, holding him down, and eventually finding a sub. I was going to say round 2. I'll say round 3 because that sounds more fun. His ability to scramble is way better than Josh Van's. Just everything in the grappling, kind of similar to the Raul Rosas fight. So give me the underdog here, Chairez, by submission. I'll go arm triangle again, Dino. How about that? 2 back-to-back Edgar Chairez arm triangles.
I don't dislike it, man. I'm very close to flipping.
And in the first fight with Lacerda, remind me, that was he had the ghillie, right? That like they thought Lacerda went out and he didn't.
Yep.
Yeah. Weird situation. But
very, very weird.
Tends to slow down, right? That's what we saw in the Charles Johnson fight. So it's like we get to that late second, early third, man. I don't know. I don't like it for him. Definitely a live betting thing.
It is, and he's fucking jacked, man. I'm telling you, like when you're that jacked, like for his size, I mean, he's 5'5", bro. He's 5'5", one of the smaller guys in the division, and he's fucking jacked. Like that's a lot of muscle to be moving around, and athletically too. You know.
Yeah.
Just naturally, glycogen's going to build up. You're not going to be as fat. You're going to be tight. Like you're just. I don't care how conditioned you are. It's not your cardiovascular, right? It's like his arms are fucking done. He can't. You know what I mean? Like
right.
So, all right. Anyway, moving on. Next fight, we've got Yazmin Jauregui.
There it is.
She's taking on Ketlen Souza.
Ketlen Souza.
Yazmin Jauregui, obviously, here is, if you're not familiar with names when it comes to a geographic basis, Jauregui is the Mexican here. What do you think about this one?
Great breakdown, Dino. All right, look. Yazmin Jauregui, absolute beast, man. We actually got to see her live at UFC 290 when she got knocked out and lost her O, and the crowd was not happy there. That was International Fight Week.
That was weird, bro. I think I lost money on that too.
Yeah, I was excited, and the Mexicans around me were not very happy that I was like rooting against one of theirs. But point being, that was International Fight Week, and that was like a Mexico-themed event that year. Again, we have Yazmin Jauregui. She probably got, besides, like, if you put it to scale, right? Yair Rodriguez was the main event. Brandon Moreno was the co-main.
She way bigger pop than Yair.
Got a way bigger pop than Yair, right? And the stadium wasn't, it was like half full when she fought. So they really do love themselves some Yazmin Jauregui. She's a high-volume striker, Dino, decent power, good boxing, very crispy, excellent movement. She excels in keeping the fight on the feet, man. She uses her combos very well, good footwork. Like, she really looks the part. And that's saying something, especially in women's MMA, right? Like, I don't mean she just, like, looks the part versus some of these girls out there that look shitty. She really looks the part, man. The girl can fight. She got clipped and lost her O. It is what it is. She's taking on Ketlen Souza. Strong grappler, solid wrestling base. She's going to need to close the distance on Jauregui and take her down to win this fight, because I don't think on the feet she has anything for Yazmin Jauregui. If it stays there, it's just, you're not going to want to do a Muay Thai or kickboxing fight with her. If she can impose her grappling, though, we're going to get to see some interesting shit out of Ketlen Souza, because Yazmin Jauregui, the ground game, a little more untested than we would like to see, I guess, for a minus 550. But Vegas knows what they're doing. Minus 550 on Yazmin here. I'm going with her, unanimous decision. Souza's going to attempt to grapple, but Jauregui's speed is not going to allow her to do that. I think she's going to stick and move for the entirety of the 15 minutes. She sees the opportunity for a finish. I think she'll go for it, but, I just see her kind of being light years just ahead of Ketlen Souza.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty simple, man. The odds speak for themselves. Jauregui should just be better. I think her ground game is not bad, but it's her striking, obviously, where she really excels. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the fight that she lost that we were at in Vegas, I'm pretty sure she had just had a baby.
I'm not sure.
I think so. And my theory on that. So I think that was a big part of it, or if it was shortly before that. I'm 90% certain.
She was just 6 months pregnant, just in the octagon.
I mean, not like that, but you get what I'm saying. So, I think more time removed from that. She looked better in her last fight. I pretty much agree with you 100%, man. I think she's going to get the decision victory. I don't know that she has enough power. I do like her aggression, and, maybe the crowd gets her going enough where she starts throwing some things and gets a TKO. She's certainly not putting her out cold. I don't see that happening. I think the most likely outcome here is a decision victory, and that's probably something I would parlay. Decision victory for Yazmin Jauregui.
What was it? Yazmin who now?
Jauregui. I hate saying it. You say it too many times, and you're like, is it even a real word?
Right. And then what did you think about her fight with Mario Batista? How was that? That was a good one, right?
Yeah, she really fucking put it on him.
What happened to the never mind. No. We'll just move on.
All right, moving on. Next fight. We've got Manuel Torres versus Ignacio Bahamondes. Man, these are two big-ass boys. These are two big-ass boys who are both finishers, both strikers. This one's you or me? This
one's you, but why don't you give them the back, since you're like so good with names and where they come from.
Yeah.
What's a Bahamondes?
Well, Ignacio Bahamondes, he's from Chile.
Child, please.
He's from Chile. When he first came in, I thought he actually was Mexican, but he is not. The Mexican here is Manuel Torres.
Viva Mexico.
Yep. Both these guys, late 20s. The reach is, fairly close. I didn't realize that Bahamondes is 5 inches taller. I thought he was a little bit. I thought what's his name? Manuel Torres, for some reason, I thought was like 6 feet tall, but I guess he's only 5'10". The reach is only a 2-inch difference. Listen, for me, this is one of the more exciting fights from a stylistic perspective on the card. Massive finishing potential. I think it is quite a low chance that we get to a third round here. Bahamondes, tall, rangy striker. He's got great movement. I noticed that he beats up on guys that are either like much worse, like obviously much worse, or there's just a massive size difference for the division, right? But when somebody kind of gets aggressive with him, or is closer than him to size, or is simply more the aggressor, the one pushing the fight forward, he tends to kind of not cower, but just kind of falls flat, right? I don't think he likes that. Obviously, Ignacio Bahamondes, given his size, especially for the division, he tends to be a weight bully. He tends to, be able to move people around and use his size to his advantage. But when that is not such a big difference, Manuel Torres, yes, there's a height difference, but there's not that much in reach. And Manuel Torres is pretty jacked, and he's kind of lanky, rangy himself. I think, we'll see kind of the more timid Ignacio Bahamondes in this. Both these guys are good strikers. If we're talking about the ground game, I mean, I guess I would give it to Ignacio Bahamondes. Maybe he's the better grappler here. But you look at his fight with like Ludovic Klein, John McDessie, right? Like he had a good amount of size on these guys and couldn't put him away, right? He lost to both those guys. So I don't know, man. The Trey Ogden win looks pretty good. Trey Ogden went on a little bit of a run himself. But for me, Manuel Torres, I just think he's a very good boxer. He's going to be the more aggressive fighter in this. I think we see Ignacio Bahamondes kind of, be a shell of himself, be a little bit more timid, be not as reactive and throw with as much power. Because once he feels Manuel Torres' power, who has legit knockout power and great submission skills too, I think it's going to be a problem for Ignacio. I think he's not going to like it. He's not going to like getting hit. And I think eventually he'll get knocked out, man. I think he'll get knocked out like midway through the second round. I also trust the cardio of Manuel Torres a little bit more. And I just think he's kind of a smarter fighter overall. I think his fight IQ is better, at least from what we've seen so far. Yeah, this is an exciting one, though. What do you think?
Yeah, so look, I actually disagree with you. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going Bahamondes by TKO here. But I'll tell you why, man. For me, Manuel Torres he's very aggressive on the feet. He goes forward. He does have power. The only thing is, like, he leaves him. He's so susceptible to being hit when he blitzes forward, man. He leaves his chin up high. His hands, when he's throwing like loopy shots,
he does
out there. And Ignacio Bahamondes, for what it's worth, while he is flashy, and you think about like the Roosevelt Roberts knockout, like the highlight reel spinning wheel kick, and like all that, he's a very, very patient striker, right? He's willing to make it a boring striking match. I don't know if he can win a decision, especially with with the judges being biased and the crowd being in favor of the other fighter. I don't know that he can necessarily win a decision in this one, but I think if he just plays it patient, Manuel Torres is going to get risky. He's going to risk it for the biscuit, as the children say back in like 1994. Look, he has more knockout power than Bahamondes. I just think he's going to overextend and eventually get caught when he's getting frustrated and can't get to the taller fighter here. I like what you said, too, about Manuel Torres being a taller fighter for the division and Bahamondes being significantly taller than that. We do see normally Manuel Torres doing well with, I don't know if it is a reach advantage, but being, a little bit taller than the other guys. He does a great job with his range. What's it going to look like when he's fighting a guy that's 4 or 5 inches taller than him? I think Bahamondes is going to exploit the gaps in his defense. I'm actually pretty confident in this one. So I'll go Bahamondes round 2 TKO. One thing I do want to say, though, if you were to that's it. That's the prelims, guys. That's 5 fights on the prelims. We're done with that. But if you were to parlay the money line on all 5 of the Mexican fighters in these 5 matchups here in the prelims, plus 1251. And it's like right now on DraftKings, that's pretty fucking wild because they all have.
Are you counting Raul Rosas as ex-Mexican there? Because technically U.S., but.
Yes, I am Raul Rosas. So plus 1251, man. And I could see all 5 of them sweeping it. Like, it's not out of the question at all here.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, so shit, man. That's, it's a lot of times your money. 12.51 times your money, actually.
Literally.
Right.
I like it. I like it. All right. Main card opener. And golly, we've got, at least something nice to look at. No, this is a high-level women's fight. Irene Aldana, she's the Mexican here, taking on Norma thick-ass cheeks Dumont. I'm excited to watch this one, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel you, man. It's gonna be a fun one to open up the card. We talk, we talk a lot of shit sometimes about women's MMA. I do want
to project Norma's Instagram on the screen.
What is it?
They should just project Norma Dumont's Instagram on the
whole fucking screen. Look, we talk a lot of shit about women's MMA on here, and I know we make our jokes, but we like to give credit where it's due. That fight with Irene Aldana and Carol Hossa at the end of last year, in December, was a late contender for fight of the year. One of the best women's fights I've ever seen, and definitely one of the best women's fights of the last 2-3 years. That was an absolute war and a fun one to watch. As far as the breakdown, Irene Aldana, a strong striker, excellent boxing skills. She, of course, is training with Alexa Grasso and Diego Lopes in the gang down there in Mexico. She's super dangerous on the feet, Dino. She can finish fights with her hands. She likes to keep the fight standing, right? That's her forte. She is a boxer. She utilizes her speed well for a bigger girl for the division. I was just really impressed with the last performance I saw from Irene Aldana, because in the performance before that, she looked like absolute dog shit against Amanda Nunes. So, again, that's Amanda Nunes. She's the GOAT. But to bounce back in a way where, you get absolutely decimated and embarrassed in the biggest fight of your life, to come back on a fight night card and just do that was absolutely amazing. Norma Dumont, as you mentioned, she's thick with it. She's a grappler. She prefers to work in the clinch. She uses her wrestling to take her opponents down. Durable as hell, tough as hell. She's got a little bit of jiggle to her, so that's always nice. She's going to struggle if this fight stays on the feet for prolonged periods. She doesn't want to do that with Irene Aldana, who's going to be the longer fighter. She's going to be just a better striker in general. So I go Irene Aldana by decision here. I think she'll be able to keep it on the feet and then just utilize the hands and the range, man. So give me Irene Aldana here.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm taking Irene Aldana too. Irene. I feel like it's Irene, but whatever.
Come on, Irene. Oh, no.
Over Norma Dumont. I love me some Norma Dumont. Jokes aside, I mean, she's really improved. She's a great fighter. She's never looked out of sorts, right? She's always in the fight. Her strike, she's willing to trade, but she does get caught, right? Even Chelsea Chandler caught her because she does keep her chin high when she gets into striking matches. She's got a little bit of like that dog in her, a little bit of like that I want to bite you back. You bite me, I want to bite you back kind of thing. I don't think it's going to be a smart strategy if she's going to get emotional against. What was that?
I said, wow.
Okay. I mean,
you really went there on debate night when Trump was talking about people eating dogs and immigrants, and you're going to say Irene Aldana's got that, or Norma Dumont's got that dog in her.
Did you see the AI image that Trump posted?
That's a shit. Man, you're crazy, dude. Hey, we just a little backtrack here. We were debating,
Oh yeah.
Pardon the pun. We were debating putting on suits and debating the main event. Like one of us taking O'Malley, one of us taking Merab, and just debating it in suits. Would you guys have liked that? Let us know in the fucking comments below. Who are you voting for 2024?
Oh my god, yeah, let us know.
Merab or O'Malley?
But yeah, man. Look, if she's got to keep a level head to have a chance in this one. I do like her clinch game. I do, she's not necessarily really like a finisher on the ground. She does damage, but she doesn't necessarily get a ton of finishes. Norma Dumont, that is. I just think, she's kind of a decision machine. Irene Aldana has power, has the experience on her. There's only like 2.5 years difference in age. So I thought it was a little bit more before. But Irene Aldana, also a big girl, too, for the division. I think Norma's going to struggle in this one a little bit. I do expect it to be a close fight. Don't get it twisted. I just think Irene Aldana, she's going to – now, her takedown defense is concerning. I will say that. I don't – it's not like she's like, some sick-ass takedown defense artist, and it's going to be – I do think it's going to end up on the ground at some point. I just think that she should be smart enough against somebody who's not like a completely dominant, overbearing, towering wrestler to keep her there the whole fight, especially with the experience that she has. So
she's not Jose Aldo, is what you're saying.
Essentially, yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Aldana by decision.
All right. By the way, guys, I jumped the gun a little bit. That was the 5th fight, Dino. That was the last prelim. So I apologize. But yes, story remains the same. Those are the fucking odds if you parlay those guys.
Okay. Cool. All right, moving on. Next fight of the night, we've got Ronaldo Rodriguez. He is taking on Ode Osbourne.
Lazy boy.
Versus the Jamaican sensation. This is interesting to me that they have this as the main card opener. Like Ronaldo Rodriguez, I would think that if I saw all the fights beforehand, I would think that this or the Zellhuber fight would be first on the card. Right?
I mean, Raul Rosas needs to be on this main card instead.
That's what I'm saying. And like Ronaldo Rodriguez, nobody really knows him. He's got a nice record and he's looked impressive in the short time that we've seen him or what we've seen from him. 25 years old, 16-2?
Yeah, I mean he came in from Lopes and literally he's had one fight in the UFC, and that was on that Mexico card in February. And it's like he beat Dennis Bondar, which is a good win.
He beat Dennis Bondar, but he's a finisher, man. He's got
still weird placement, man.
It is, but yeah, I mean, even as recently as 3 fights ago, he fought a guy that was 5-1, 5-0, 5-1, 6-5. So the record, 16-2 professional record is really, really good at 25 years old, especially. But, if you look a little bit deeper, it's not quite that clear. For me, I will say, man, he's fighting Ode Osbourne. Obviously, Ode is explosive and, he can be a fun fighter. But to me, man, it's pretty straightforward, right? Ronaldo Rodriguez, very dangerous grappler. Ode Osbourne cannot grapple to save his life. So I'm taking Ronaldo Rodriguez. I mean, I didn't, when I saw this, I didn't think I would be, but I'm taking Ronaldo Rodriguez by like a second round submission, let's say. I just don't really trust Ode at this point, man. The stand-up, Ronaldo Rodriguez obviously not fought the level of competition. Ode's probably the better striker, but, Ronaldo Rodriguez has a bunch of knockouts to his name too. He's no schlub. This is kind of hard to predict, man. There's just not that much tape on Ronaldo Rodriguez, but from what I've seen and his finishing ability, and let me just say this, Ode Osbourne is a lot better than Dennis Bondar, but I think the UFC knows what they're doing here, and I expect them to get a win. Yeah,
Dino, I'm with you. I'm going lazy boy in this one as well. I'm going submission in the 3rd round, so just a little bit later than you. One thing I do want to say, I think we're going to, by the end of the year, you guys probably don't know this, but I think we talked about it a little bit, Dino. I have all of our picks in an Excel spreadsheet, and I have a bunch of data that I'm trying to accumulate by the end of this year, right? So by the end of this year, one thing I do want to focus on, if you could remind me of this when I'm doing all that shit, the fighters from the country of the themed card, right? So for example, we go to Australia, all the Australian, New Zealand fighters. We go to Dubai, all the Arab fighters and the Dagestanis and all that, and blah, blah, blah. With this being a Mexican-themed card, I'm still sticking with Lazy Boy in this one, but I just want to know what the percentage of the fighters that are from that region or of that culture, what their winning percentage is, because I feel like it's crazy high. I feel like it's crazy high.
And higher for some than others, too.
Right. And Ode Osbourne, man, look, he's skilled, right? We like Ode Osbourne. We met him in Vegas. Super nice guy, down to earth. But and he's been very good in the UFC. He's just a hit or miss kind of guy. Lazy boy Ronaldo Rodriguez, he has been dynamic in his career, right? And one of his only 2 losses came to Jerome Rivera back on the Contender Series in 2020. So even his loss, one of his 2 losses is against UFC competition pre-being in the UFC. The kid is explosive, man. He does have some good power, but the grappling is going to be the difference for me in this one. If Ode doesn't catch him with something absolutely wild, I see no way Ode Osbourne wins this fight. So give me Lazy Boy by submission. I'll say round 3, but you're kind of convincing me round 2. But somewhere in the second half of this fight, I see a sub for Lazy Boy.
Yep. All right, next fight on the card. We've got Daniel Zellhuber, the German. Oh, no, sorry, he's Mexican, which is so weird, but all right, that's fine. Taking on Esteban Ribovics.
Right. So if I put these two names in front of you, who would you guess is the Mexican guy? Not Zellhuber.
I mean, neither one of them fucking sound it, to be quite honest with you.
Right. But like I just feel like the Esteban would have me going that way. Anyways, Daniel Zellhuber, super tall, super rangy, sharp striker, man. Uses his length well, throws great jabs and kicks to keep his opponents at bay, while his grappling is solid. You know, it's serviceable for the UFC. It's not as much of a detriment that you would think it is for a guy like that. His main weapon is going to be striking from distance against a much shorter guy in Esteban Ribovics. Ribovics is an aggressive guy. He loves to push forward. He's always looking for the knockout. He RIP'd our boy T-Rex, Terrence McKinney, last time out. That was was that the last time out? Was that the last fight? I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but
for Ribovics?
Yeah.
I think so. 1 second.
Yes, it was. So that was back in May. He RIP'd our boy T-Rex. That was absolutely brutal. His defense can be lacking, Dino. He is definitely susceptible to being hit because he's willing to fucking trade and absolutely go for it. His game plan is going to be closing the distance on Zellhuber very quickly. He's going to go for it in the first round. He's going to try to close the distance and swing absolutely massive. Daniel Zellhuber is a minus 230 favorite here. I get it. I'm going Esteban Ribovics KO round 1. I think he puts Daniel Zellhuber's tall ass absolutely out cold. I think the pressure and the power of Esteban Ribovics is eventually going to break through. And I say eventually when I expect this to happen within 4 minutes, right? But I think it's going to be pressure off the bat. He's going to swing big. One of those things touches that skinny ass chin and homeboy's going down. So give me Esteban Ribovics overhand right. That's how I'm calling it, round 1.
Damn. Well, it's not going to be as exciting when I say that I, too, am picking Esteban Ribovics.
Let's go.
By first-round knockout. That's crazy, dude. I was thinking maybe second, but I was thinking first or second, but now that you said first, now you got me convinced. So I'm going to go first-round knockout as well for exactly the same reasons that you said, right? Zellhuber, he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so, Esteban Ribovics, he's pretty decent on the ground. He'll hold his own, but he takes some damage, man. He's tough as shit. You look at him, and you don't really expect him to be this style of fighter. He's like this, pretty boy and shit. You don't expect him to be like a tough-ass son of a bitch who goes for the finish, up front, throws some aggressive shit. He's got great power. He's got crisp technique, too. I really like the guy, man. I think he's shown a lot of heart. And to be quite honest with you, it's like I'm going with my heart kind of thing here too, right? I've never been a huge fan of Daniel Zellhuber, to be honest with you. He's never impressed me, and I know he's got, some impressive wins. I think his only loss in the UFC is to Trey Ogden, right?
His only loss.
It's his only loss, period. That's right. Yeah, and look, Trey Ogden, he's looked pretty good at times. That's not anything to be ashamed of, but let's be honest, man. Christos Giagos, Lando Venata, these are not high-end fighters in the division, right? So this is a big step up. Esteban Ribovics, he's been tested already, right? Loic Radzhabov, that was a badass fight, to be honest with you. He almost had a comeback in that one, too. Yeah, I just got to go with it, man. It's a little bit of a heart pick for me here. I'm certainly not betting this one. I'll tell you that for sure. But I agree with you. I'm taking Esteban on the first.
They're also giving Esteban Ribovics, for what it's worth, a chance to get a lick back for his country. Because last time Daniel Zellhuber beat up on Francisco Prado, one of the only other Argentinian fighters in the UFC. So they're like, run that shit back, Turbo. So that's what they're on. I'm really, I feel like Esteban Ribovics is winning this fight. I'm pretty confident in it. It's one of those.
Yep.
So let's get it. I'm sprinkling, brother. You best bet that.
Let's get it.
Me sprinkling on this is minus 550.
What do you mean?
The odds of me betting on this fight are minus.
Yeah, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
All right, for sure.
I'm gonna parlay it with something stupid as hell. I'm gonna parlay it with Irene Aldana first round sub, some crazy shit.
Why though?
I don't know, because I'm just a degenerate. I like seeing the big plus numbers.
True. Me asking you this, I made an 8-fight parlay. Put $150 earlier.
Let's go.
And then now I've already changed my mind on 2 of the fights, so that's cool. Maybe I'll cash out. All right. moving on, and this is where it gets real exciting. We got Brian Ortega. He's taking on Diego Lopes. We got a Mexican, and then we've got like a half Mexican, right? Isn't he half Mexican, half Brazilian?
I think Diego Lopes.
Or is he just like he's like lived in Mexico and like speaks Spanish and...
I think he's like a naturalized Mexican. I think he's fully Brazilian, which is weird because
his haircut's definitely more Mexican.
He's just more Mexico in general than Brazil.
I could see him in a cowboy hat and some boots and like a tucked in like button down.
Bro doesn't speak Portuguese. Like he does speak. He's fluent, but like you hear him just talking Spanish all the time. What was his deal with the fucking Ultimate Fighter this year? He had nothing to do with it. He was just silent in the background the whole fucking time while Valentina and Robert were talking.
Right. And bro had like shown us he's like starting to speak decent English.
Right, I'm down.
They're just like, you just stand there and shut the fuck up.
Right. Comb your hair, bro.
All right. So we got Ortega versus Lopes. We knew this fight was going to happen, pretty quickly. It seemed as soon as the last fight ended that, we were going to see this. So, yeah, man. The performance of Diego Lopes versus Dan Ige obviously ended up winning that fight. I thought it was super close. Did you?
Yeah.
I thought it was damn close.
Shout out Dan Ige for that. That's fucking.
Shout out. That was some big ball shit. And shout out Diego Lopes for not pulling out of the fight and still taking on a completely different guy. You're going to fight a jiu-jitsu specialist with pretty decent striking, and you went on to fight a guy who is just a fucking little pit bull who's just maybe the best pure boxer in the weight class.
Yeah.
So just unbelievable. Props to them both. Great fight overall. But we're talking about this fight, right? So we know who these guys are, man. Diego Lopes, probably the most exciting up-and-comer in the UFC, probably the most exciting guy that's come in the last few years. I can't think of somebody that pops into my head that's been more exciting. Well, aside from Alex Pereira, obviously. He's a jiu-jitsu ace himself. He's got unbelievable jiu-jitsu. He pretty much is a jiu-jitsu coach, right? We've talked about that before. His striking is really good. He's got power. He's a finisher, man. He's a finisher. He's not a stupid fighter. He's kind of a very complete fighter. And of course, he's taking on Brian Ortega, and Brian Ortega just continues to surprise us, right? And now he's evolved into like the philosophical Ortega. He lost the Yair fight with the shoulder injury, was getting kind of beat up in the in the short time that fight had happened already. And then, of course, we saw him kind of take it to Yair last time, really hold his own on the feet, and then end up getting an arm triangle. So we could talk about the Volk fight, right? Like Ortega is a certified legend, man, from his personality to the look to who he was dating to, he's a guy that we don't give enough credit to. Maybe people are just a little bit jealous. Maybe, it's the thing that he's like fucking philosopher now, whatever it might be. But this is going to be a badass fight. This is a super exciting fight. It's pretty clear who has the strengths where, right? Diego Lopes, he's going to have the power advantage. He's probably the better striker overall. Ortega, he's been in enough fights at the very highest level of the sport where he's obviously a pretty good striker himself. We saw him hold his own with Yair, who's a very dangerous striker. So to me, it's really a matter of cardio, right? Because to me, that's the biggest question mark in this one, I would say for me, Dino, is that if this was a 5-round fight, I would feel very, very comfortable taking Ortega, right? We've seen him do it. We've seen him almost get finishes late in fights in 5-rounders. We saw Diego Lopes really gas out versus Dan Ige. I mean, halfway through that third round, or maybe even early in the third round, he was already quite gassed, man. And, the performance went way downhill after that. Props to him. He's a fighter. He's an absolute beast. And again, we talked about that was kind of a unique situation. The fact that this is a 3-rounder makes it a lot closer to me. However, I don't know, man. Ortega has surprised me, and you were like, you also convinced me last time we talked about Ortega. So I can't really pick against him right now, man. At plus 155 too, I'm taking Ortega by submission in the third round. This fight really could go either way, and I'm super excited to watch it no matter what happens.
Yeah, love that breakdown, Dino. Couple things, man. Diego Lopes, I need to, I did this breakdown last time. I got to do it again. Look, nothing but kudos to Diego Lopes. I get it, man. I totally get the admiration that people have for him. He's a fun ass fighter. He's dynamic as hell. He's a beast on the ground. He showed us last time out versus Super Sadiq Youssef, or 2 fights ago against Super Sadiq Youssef, that he has knockout power and like serious knockout power. The Dan Ige fight shows that he has balls to take on a new opponent in one day, 10 pounds up. The dude he's fought 5 times already in the UFC. So that's absolutely crazy. He's only been here for like a year and a half, and 5 fights is pretty wild. That debut against Movsar Evloev, I don't think there could have been a better thing for Diego Lopes than that fight, right? Because he came in, and while he lost, it was one of those fights where he didn't actually lose, right? Like, he gained in terms of popularity. The fans loved him. He put on a great performance against an undefeated guy who is still undefeated. And then he's just been kind of kicking everybody's ass up until that Dan Ige fight, which, again, it was a close fight, but no shame in losing, or no shame in, having a close fight with Dan Ige. Now, Brian Ortega, man, that last fight in February, Dino, when he beat Yair Rodriguez, I was pretty damn certain that Yair was going to win that one. I mentioned it last time in the breakdown for UFC 303, I believe, where these two were originally scheduled to fight. We watched that card at your house. We were having drinks and margaritas and a whole bunch of other shit, and it was a great, fun night. And in my drunken stupor, I remember betting you, I believe. We did a bet for like $50 or $100 or something on that fight, and Brian Ortega ended up winning me that money. So that was cool. Yeah. Regardless, after that fight and in the 303 breakdown, I said one thing, and that has stuck with me till now. Brian Ortega over the fucking field for his next fight. It sucks that he had to pull out of the last one. I hope he wasn't really injured or sick or whatever, and I hope he's healed now. But we really forget how good Brian Ortega was, man. He was the boogeyman of this division. So Brian Ortega is winning this fight for me. I'll go by decision. I could see a finish as well. I could see Diego Lopes winning it as well, right? It is a toss-up. But Brian Ortega over Diego Lopes, over Max at this point, over Topuria, over Volk, over Charles Dubronx, over Islam, Dricus, fucking Brock Lesnar. I'm taking Brian Ortega no matter who he fights in his next fight. And his next fight is Saturday.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. And now we get to the co-main event, Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. I just want to say, whoever's still watching this, in the co-main event and the main event, me and this guy definitely have dogs in the fight. So let's say that. And we've discussed it a lot, and there's a lot that's already been said. So let's just say that. Especially for this one, because this is, of course, the third time that they're fighting.
Yeah. Alexa
Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko. How do you see this third match playing out?
All right, Dino. So the way I see this fight playing out is a little similar to the last fight, right? I mean, at this point, we've seen these two ladies face off twice, 10 rounds, or I'm sorry, 7 rounds, right? Or 9 rounds. Math be math, and 4 and then 5. All right, so 9 rounds we've seen them fight, and it's been pretty damn competitive the whole time, man. Kudos to Alexa Grasso. She's a lot better than I originally thought she was. She's defensively sound, and she's an opportunist, man. She's an opportunist for sure. She knows when to attack. And we saw that in the first fight with Valentina Shevchenko when she was waiting for that spin for 15, 20 minutes. And she finally got it, pounced on it, got a sub, dethroned one of the women's GOATs, right? The second fight, Dino, as my alarm goes off at 11:24 for no reason. The last fight, I think Valentina Shevchenko won that fight. Let's just get to the elephant in the room.
I do too.
Yeah, I think Valentina won.
As an Alexa Grasso fan, but somebody who is a student of the sport and somebody who is a sponge to the sport. I consume it endlessly, right?
Yeah.
I would be disrespecting the sport, personally, I think, if I said that I thought Alexa Grasso won that. How you give Alexa Grasso a 10-8?
And that's what sways that fight, right? Is a criminal fucking scorecard of a 10-8.
That was not in Mexico, was it?
That was Noche UFC last year in Vegas.
Yep.
Yeah, so
and now we are actually in Mexico.
Huh?
It's not. I mean, we're not in Mexico, but we're gonna kind of be there. Like,
right. So we're kind of there again.
Like they're gonna put up the screens to make you feel like they are.
Right. So look, I mean, I see it playing similarly, right? To me, here's the question mark. I think Valentina Shevchenko is the better fighter than Alexa Grasso, all things considered. However, you do have to factor in age at this point, right? It's been a year since they last fought. That year is going to affect Valentina Shevchenko. Potentially, you would think more than it would affect Alexa Grasso being younger. However, I think Valentina Shevchenko is very hungry, very motivated for this one. I think she said that her biggest goal in this one is to not leave it to the judges this time. She is going out there with a kill or be killed mentality. Now, I know Valentina Shevchenko says that, and I love Valentina Shevchenko. I just don't know that she's going to be able to get a finish on Alexa Grasso. I see this one going the distance regardless of who wins it. I think it's going to be very close. I'm going to stick with my heart and go with Valentina Shevchenko. I'm hoping she gets this strap, Dino, puts it down a la Amanda Nunes and walks out. But I don't think she does that. But still, give me Valentina Shevchenko by decision. I think you're splitting hairs with this one, to be honest.
I do too, man. I do too, but I don't know. Like, if you're just watching the fight and you had the commentary off for both fights and you didn't know what – if somebody just showed you all, what?
9 rounds.
However many rounds there were there 10? There were, no. Nine. Thank you. All 9 rounds in a row, start to finish, right? First fight, second fight, no commentary, no crowd noise, none of that shit. How would you feel, right? And to me, it's just like it always looked like Valentina was in control, right? To me, what you said is basically the only question is 36 and a half years old now, right? So is she actually on the decline, and I'm sure she is to some level, right? But she just was such a dominant champion, she's terrifying. She is what, like, she has no flaws as a fighter, right? She has absolutely no flaws. She's a damn cyborg when it comes to it. So I'm going to go with her, man. I'm going to go with Valentina, too. I'm taking her by decision as well. Alexa Grasso is even better than I thought she was. And I considered myself a fan and somebody who respects her game. And I thought she was very good. Her boxing was always good. But obviously the grappling, she's impressed and improved upon. She got the choke over Valentina. I think a lot of that was simply Valentina was fucking exhausted. She had just finished throwing some crazy shit. And it was, already late into the fight. And I don't think Valentina ever for a second expected or suspected or even had a thought that Alexa Grasso would get a submission on her. So I think it was a perfect opportunistic move by Alexa Grasso. Showed a lot of high IQ. Maybe it looked stupid at first, but when she got it in, it was like a neck crank. She certainly looked very smart. So all props to both these ladies. It's going to be a sick fight for sure. The crowd's definitely going to be behind Alexa Grasso here. I got to go with Valentina, man. To me, just watching the fights, watching the rounds, it always looked like she was way more in control. I would say 70% of the time it looked like she was in control. So I got to go with her. I'm sure she'll start declining for real at some point, but right now I can't pick against her.
And Dino, to just to double down on that a little bit, and just show you guys how close it was, right? So of the 9 rounds they fought, the first fight, it ended in the 4th round via the neck crank or the RNC, whatever you want to call it. Valentina was up going into the 4th. It was a clear 2-1 for Valentina Shevchenko. So you count that fight. I know it's a win, right, for Grasso, obviously, but it's 2-2 in terms of rounds there, right? That 3rd fight was a clear 3-2 for me for Valentina Shevchenko. So in the 9 rounds, it's 5-4. Like, that's how close it is. But I get what you're saying. You're saying optically, Valentina Shevchenko looks like the more sound fighter. Alexa Grasso just has this thing, and it's not a shade towards women's MMA. She's unbelievable. But she has this thing that a lot of women in the sport have, and it's like it looks sloppy, right? Like the striking looks sloppy. And I know, who the fuck am I to be saying that? But at the end of the day, it's like she goes out there, she's throwing shit that looks not technical, but it works for her. It works for a guy like Dricus Du Plessis. That's a guy who throws sloppy and unorthodox, and it works for him. So it works out for her. But Valentina, being the technician that she is, man, and at this point, Dino, a year and a half of just fucking seething and wanting to get her belt back and get this win back. She feels cheated, and like an angry, motivated Valentina Shevchenko is a fucking problem. So I'm rooting for her. I know you're probably not, but yeah.
It's not that I'm not. She's just such a legend. Like, and I'm a fan of the legends, right? Who deserve it. And God, if she doesn't, who does? I wanted to see her versus fucking Amanda one more time, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
but it is what it is. Yeah, we agree on that one for sure. So moving on, the main event of the evening. And of course, there's no Mexicans in this. It's Sean O'Malley, and he's taking on Merab Dvalishvili.
By the way, they've been arguing, like sort of mini arguing about who's more Mexican. Sean O'Malley's girl is Mexican, so his daughter is half Mexican. You know,
yeah.
Then Merab has basically been adopted by Mexico at this point for the whole beating the shit out of Henry Cejudo thing and walking out with the Mexican flag. So it's a tough one. Viva la raza, you feel me?
Orale. Yeah, man. Listen, I mean, I'm not going to tell you anything new here on who these guys are. Sean O'Malley, Sean, tall, rangy striker, exciting, calculated, man. An absolute sniper, right? Like counter punching, unbelievable, stiff, powerful straights, great knees. The timing is impeccable. He's got probably the best timing since Conor, to be honest with you, right? I think, Sean, people want him to be the next Conor. And one way that he is that precision and timing. It's unbelievable. So, listen, he's an unbelievable striker. He's got really good takedown defense. He's going to be the taller, rangier guy here. Merab is 5'6", so he's going to have 5 inches of height. Sean O'Malley, that is. He's going to have 4 inches of reach. Merab, he's an absolute cardio machine, absolutely juiced to the gills on the EPO, without question. Cardio goblin, relentless wrestler. If he had his druthers, he would literally just shoot 60 takedowns and just fucking hump you like a little chihuahua the whole fight on the ground. So two very, very different fighters, a lot of shit talked. Merab has the fake Sean O'Malley. I'm just happy that this one is finally here more than anything. Listen, you know how I'm going to pick this fight, right? I'm taking Sean O'Malley. I just think the timing, the range, the power, Merab has not seen anything like it. I picked Sean O'Malley to win by early second-round knockout versus Aljo, another one of your boys. No disrespect. I'm picking the same thing to happen here, man. Merab is probably the worst matchup for him. I just think it's not going to be easy for Merab to take Sean down. At 5 inches of reach and the length overall, it's not going to be super easy for Merab to take Sean down. Also, it's Sean O'Malley, right? He is potentially the best striker at 135 pounds on the planet. It's not the same as somebody who doesn't have that knockout power, who didn't just knock out your boy not long ago. It's not the same thing. It's certainly not like Henry Cejudo, right? Where Merab just dominated Henry Cejudo. And then, I mean, it has to be mentioned, Merab is spinning it like it's a joke, right? But the staph infection, which he clearly has, he's taking antibiotics. He has weaponized cardio, right? So now is that cardio going to suffer from the antibiotics and whatever else the fuck he's on? Very, very possible. We're only human, right? We're all made of flesh. On top of that, too, you got the cut, right? In a bad spot. 3 weeks ago, I want to say, when the fight's going to happen, it's going to be like 3 weeks since he got that cut. Dana was pissed off at him. Merab, again, spinning it like it's a joke and it's not a big deal. There's a reason he's showing it, right? I think Merab is almost putting in some built-in excuses. And, maybe I'm wrong on that. But I just, it's very, very close. I think there's one of two ways this fight's going to go, right? Round to round. It's either Sean O'Malley is going to be landing shots. Merab can't find his range to get in on Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley is dropping Merab, basically. Or Sean cannot combat the cardio and the relentless pressure and takedowns of Merab. Merab just keeps taking him down. Sean scoots to the cage, kind of props his ass up a little bit. Merab is landing some shots, maybe trying to work for a submission, but more than that, keeping him down a little bit. Control time. Sean O'Malley gets back to his feet. He's a little bit more tired now. He's more apprehensive. Merab is getting more comfortable. So it's really two ways this fight can really go round to round, right? And I don't think if it goes one way, it's not going to necessarily go the other. Round, or it's going to stay that way. I think it could switch round to round, I'm having a hard time deciding how I think Sean O'Malley's going to win because Merab is tough, man. He is tough. So I'm gonna say third round knockout for Sean O'Malley, but I don't know, man. It kind of feels like my heart's telling me decision, But I'm undecided on the method, but I'm going with Sean O'Malley.
All right, couple things we have to touch on really quickly here with these two guys. Obviously, some bad blood. Merab has been calling out Sean O'Malley for like north of like 6 years at this point. And then you said the build up with the fake Sean O'Malley and all the fucking videos. And it's good that it's finally happening. And one thing I'm very happy, obviously, Merab being a my guy, I'm very happy that a guy that deserves a title shot is getting it, right? Like, we know that the UFC has...
That was his own fault.
Huh?
That was his own fault.
Right, but I'm just saying, the UFC hasn't always been merit-based, so it's always nice to see a guy on a huge win streak getting his title fight.
Especially when you have a champion like Sean O'Malley. So credit to Sean O'Malley, honestly, as well, for taking the fight and not being a little bitch about it like we've seen a lot of these champions be. And in a way, like, you kind of would almost expect him to be with Merab.
I don't get that. What do you mean?
Like, I feel like I wouldn't have been shocked if Sean O'Malley was like, yeah, Merab, and then like is going to try to push for, I don't know, somebody else, Sandhagen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so look, hear me out. I do have to answer that before I get into my breakdown. Look, I used to be a huge fan of Sean O'Malley. As you know, we flew out to Vegas to watch him fight a couple times. The Sugar Show, man, he's fucking fun and dynamic and all that shit. Last fight, Dino, the fight versus Chito Vera, and side note, both of these guys, their last performances were absolutely fucking flawless. Sean O'Malley, that was the best I've ever seen Sean O'Malley. He absolutely decimated Chito Vera. Same for Merab. He dominated and embarrassed Olympic champion and Henry Cejudo in the grappling. The thing with Sean O'Malley is everybody knows, and we said it, and you said it, and Yo Mama and his mama, and everybody knew that Sean O'Malley had no fucking business fighting Chito Vera.
No, definitely not.
That was a gimme fight for the UFC to build up their little star boy and get him a free title defense in his first title defense. 299 was absolutely stacked to the fucking gills for no reason when you had UFC 300 coming up. They're trying to build Sean O'Malley. Now, when Sean O'Malley won that fight, everyone knew that Merab was the next contender. But at that point, Sean O'Malley was kind of deflecting, right? It seemed like he didn't want Merab. He really wanted to go for the Ilia Topuria route. Like, he wanted to go double champ. Is that him wanting to grow his star power really quickly and try to be a double champ? Or is that him trying to avoid what I think is the worst matchup in the division for him at this point? But on the contrary, it's probably the worst matchup for Merab Dvalishvili as well, right? So we know Sean O'Malley, super dynamic striker, super...
Should we simulate this fight?
Huh?
We should do a UFC 5 sim of this fight.
I'm down. We'll do like 100 sims and see who wins. But look, Sean O'Malley, we know what he is. You know, he is a sniper, like above all things. And as great as he is, he's a sniper. He is so goddamn sharp, and he does have power. Merab's biggest weakness has been the left hand. He's been wobbled by Henry Cejudo, by Marlon Moraes. Marlon Moraes really had him bad, like really had him hurt until he flipped that fight around and went on like a 75-0 strikes kind of thing to win that fight. I think Sean O'Malley is really fucking sharp and dangerous, Dino. The only way Merab wins this fight, right? The only way he wins this fight is if he does weaponize that cardio, get to Sean O'Malley early, get takedowns in bunches in those first 2-3 rounds. And
Merab is going to need it. He's going to need to take O'Malley down in the first round. If he doesn't, it's over. Yeah,
right. So it's wraps. So at that point, he really needs to not get knocked the fuck out in the first 2.5 rounds and have gotten 5 or 6 takedowns with some control time, with O'Malley not threatening him, by the way, to win this fight. Now, can I see that happening? Of course I can. But then you start to factor in the fact that Merab's not a finisher, man. He's not a finisher, like, at all, really. He just kind of dominates the pace of the fight, dominates where the fight takes place. And, Dino, if he 50-42s Sean O'Malley, he's not winning a decision in this fight. Like, there is no way.
I mean, yeah.
There's no way that the UFC is they're not giving him a decision win. Even if he 10-8s every round, they're going to find a way to say O'Malley won it. So Merab needs a finish. I think the only way he gets a finish is if he exhausts this guy and in the 3rd or 4th round fucking just chokes him out, or because ground and pound. Yeah, here's what I think. I think he ends up getting knocked out in the 3rd round. I think Sean O'Malley catches him. I'll tell you this, though. I think it'll be a clean, more definitive finish than the Aljo fight. However, if Merab does get caught, shout out to MMA Guru for saying this, because I've been saying this the whole time. if he does get caught and wobbled in the slightest, like Jared Cannonier, this fight's done. The promotions against them, the crowds against them. Nobody wants Merab to win this fight. I got the t-shirt. I'm hoping Merab wins this fight. It's just fucking tough, man. It's tough. So I'll go Sugar Sean O'Malley TKO round 3.
Man, you're making me want to bet the fucking house on O'Malley.
And I hope I'm fucking wrong. One more thing. I've seen a couple prop bets. O'Malley by sub at plus 1,200. Not terrible, because from what we hear, he has phenomenal jiu-jitsu. And Merab's going to be
And he would be the type to want to do that way.
Yeah, just kept the gilly, right? Or something like that. But MMA math, Dino, one more thing. MMA math, it don't always be mathin', but you look at the Peter Yan fights. Merab absolutely embarrassed him. Sean O'Malley robbed him. So who the fuck knows? But I'm going Sugar Sean TKO. And then go up to 45, because Umar's fucking killing him at 35 next.
Yeah.
Go up to 45 and get body bagged.
He really needed Sandhagen to win that.
All right. If you want to go get body bagged by Ilia Topuria, that's fine by me too. So this is the last dub for Sugar.
I think Ilya's a lot better matchup for him than Umar.
Yeah, but Ilia, come on now. Ilia's better than Peter Yan. He's bigger than Peter Yan. He's putting fucking hands on Sean O'Malley. That's what I think. Unless they give him unless they find a way to give Davison Figueiredo the next title shot, I don't see O'Malley winning the next one. Yeah, he's beating up boys for a living. That's just what the fuck this guy's on.
I wish life was set up like that for me.
He's just out here fucking up my friends. You know what I mean? But that's Noche UFC, guys. Viva Mexico, cabrones.
Bingo. That's all. That's all we got for you. It was a little bit long-winded, but hey.
Fun card, right? All right, guys. Anyways, if you enjoyed the action on this episode, do us a favor. Do like the thing at the bottom says. Like and subscribe. Ring the bell. What is that?
She did.
She did. Guys, that's DS. He made a bell sound for you guys. Ring it, okay? Because that's going to notify you when our videos drop. And you're definitely going to want to know when our videos drop, because we're dropping that sick-ass series that we hinted at the beginning of this episode at some point this week. That shit is fun as fuck. It took us like 40 hours, so support us, please. Hit us with a like and a subscribe. You can also follow us on the gram at V107MMA, the same goddamn way it's spelled on this very channel here. That's my boy DS. I'm Dino Bambom. That's like more Cuban than Mexican. But anyways, guys, UFC 306, Noche UFC. Thank you so much for watching. Let's fucking go, Merab. Get it done, my boy.
No thanks.
Peace.